Podcasts on unctv.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNCTV.
When I found out I was HIV positive was January 2001. I had gone at the behest of one of my other friends who said that he was positive and that I might want to get checked because, he got his results back. I was seeing this guy on the West Coast, and when after I found out I was positive, I contacted him and let him know what was going on, and he told me that he knew already. And I'm like, well, how could you possibly know? I just got the results back. He was like, well, you got it from me. I'd asked him before we had had sex if he was HIV positive, if he had anything I could contract. I made it very broad so he couldn't tell me no if he had anything and be telling the truth. So I made it broad and asked him if he had anything I could contract, and he told me no. The condom broke during intercourse, and I found that out after I'd gotten tested and gotten my results. And I asked him why he lied to me, and he was like, well, because he figured that I wouldn't want him if, I knew he had it. And that since I had it, I could just come live with him and we could take care of each other. He said ultimately the reason that he did it was because if he couldn't have me, he didn't feel like anyone else should have me either. I began to pull myself away from campus life a lot. And it wasn't because anybody had known. I still looked the same, I still felt the same. And I wasn't the only person that really knew. It was like 3 people, my friend that went with me to get tested and her partner. I withdrawn completely. If I couldn't take my test via email, if I couldn't do any of my assignments via email, I didn't get them done. And I withdrew so much so to the point that if I had to leave my room to eat, I wouldn't eat. I didn't want to interact with anybody because I didn't want there to be the slightest possibility of someone going around saying things about me that weren't true or things that were true. I asked them how many of them knew someone who was HIV positive, and not many people raised their hands. And I asked them how many people knew me, and almost everybody in the room raised their hands. I was like, if you know me, you know someone who's HIV positive. And all you saw was jaws hit the floor, and you saw tears forming in people's eyes. I think that was one of the most moving experiences, and that talking about it became my therapy, my means of coping, my means of dealing with it. It's more psychological for me. My body, I haven't been sick because of the virus, and I've had it for a little over 4 years. But for me, it's more psychological. And me letting some days the virus get the best of me, my mind gets weak and fatigued. I think about all the people that I'll never meet because, or all the people that won't want to be my friends, or all the people that'll talk about me because I am HIV positive. I do have my bad days. There are days when I wake up and it's like, even if it's not psychological, I'm not going to class because, I got diarrhea. So, or because the migraines get so bad that it's like I have to sleep with a sleep mask on because the slightest little bit of light will just send me into a frenzy. My babysitter told me when I was a child, I was about 5 years old, that I was going to be great. She said I was going to be a preacher. I'm not going to knock that, but I still don't see that. But what I do see is me stepping up and taking the role and the responsibility that someone else isn't willing to take. Students on the campus are starting to see that this is something that they need to take on personally, make this something that's an issue with them. Make this an intimate issue, because people on our campus, I know that I'm not the only person on my campus who is infected. My commitment was to mobilize Black college students around the issue of HIV and AIDS, and how we have to create some drama, how we have to stir in some mess. We have to do non-traditional things to get non-traditional results, because as long as we act the way we've always acted, we're going to continue to get the things we've always gotten. I think some are taking the prevention method seriously. As long as we feel like we are invincible and that it can't happen to us like I felt when I got infected, there's always going to be cases. If you want to have sex and that's going to decrease your risk of contracting HIV, by all means, use condoms. Use whatever you need to use to do the things you need to do, but don't get HIV. My message to people is to stand up, take responsibility for you and your behavior. It's your responsibility to save your own life.